Now, we discussed how keyword optimization will allow our site to be listed in different queries that are put out there, right? I can type out monkeys and primates, and I want mine to be listed in all of those because that will mean more traffic. But that does not mean that I'm going to be position number 1 or position number 5 on that list of results for each of those queries. So really this comes down to two parts. We want to be listed in as many queries as we can, but we want to be listed towards the top of each of those, okay? Now Google has lots and lots of different algorithm updates that it's used to determine who goes to the top and who doesn't. And some of those might be, having a really fast mobile website or being able to be mobile friendly. It might be having a HTTPS certificate, an SSL cert installed. This is a website that tracks those changes. You can go here to moz.com/Google algorithm change with dashes in between. But this is a good one that you can look at all these different updates and Penguin and Panda and mobile and all these different things over the years. But there's one in particular called PageRank, and kind of started towards the beginning. And essentially, there's these two guys, Stanford, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, I think is their names. And Larry Page, this is named after him, and it is a algorithm update that looks to see how other websites link back to you. Okay, and so you can see in this example we have our site, and this site has a link coming back to us, and this site has a link going to them, and if this site is also linking to them but also linked to them and they link back to us. And what I want you to consider and think about with these is think of them as kind of voting. It's again a democratic process of voting for who's your favorite website, and the website that gets the most votes is probably a good website and something that you want to look at. And so that's what they did, is they said we are going to take a website, and if a bunch of little websites or a bunch of sites are pointing back to it, it's probably pretty good. And if it points back to someone else, it might actually blow up another site. Often I kind of describe this as a way of kind of popularity, right? If you're playing sports and you have a lot of people that are loving you and giving friendship, that if you pass that friendship to someone else, that other person might be popular, right? It's kind of how it went in middle school. But if all of a sudden no one comes to watch your sports anymore, the popularity you pass to your friend, he may not be as popular anymore as well. Now this kind of goes around and gets passed around the web. One thing to note on this is that if you reciprocate friendship like these two right here, it really doesn't do a lot. Really what you want is as many inbound links as you can get, and you don't have to go out and say, if you link to me, I'll link to you, because if you're doing a reciprocal link like that, the likelihood of it being high quality is probably really low, because you can manipulate links by saying, I'll give you one if you give me one, right? So Google doesn't value those as much, but there is still some link juice, is what we call it, being passed back and forth. So this is great, except for people started to figure out how to manipulate it. This is a graphic really quickly here with PageRank. It's a score between 0 to 10, 10 being the highest, and you can see it's not hard to get a 1 to a 2, but if you can get to a 4, you're doing really good. If you can get to a 5, you're doing amazing. If you're to a 6, there's not many websites that are above a 6. But like I said before, people started figuring out how to gamify this and kind of work the system a little bit. There was a lot of pages that would sell links, that were really high page rank, and they would sell that to other websites and whatnot. And so Google kind of did away with this, but they didn't do away with this completely. What happens if we search for monkeys here again? We know that Wikipedia has a lot of authority and trust from Google, okay? Now, even though you can't see their page rank, although actually you can calculate it, but they don't really openly give that page rank anymore. And they don't use the page rank algorithm anymore. They do use something called trust rank or authority rank, and And we know that they have the highest authority for the word monkeys, or they wouldn't show up here. So if we could get a link from any of these top level domain names, we are going to be past a ton of PageRank or link juice or trust rank or whatever you want to call it back to our website. And it follows that same concept of passing or voting for one another. And it's all passed through links. Now, Google's been very open. I mentioned this in a past video that, there's three things that they look at, the three largest things that determine how high you rank. And one, it is what keywords you're using, what content do you have on your site, is it relevant, and if someone types out that word, there's a good likelihood you're going to show up. And then number two, the link profile you create. And that's what we're showing you right here, is you want to have, and it comes down to this, you want to have as many high quality links pointing back to your website as you can. That is, to put it, as in its most simplest form. Okay, now if you want to determine what that looks like, there's a lot of tools out there that try to figure out what Google, what their authority, domain authority looks like, okay? And you can go, use this little tool here from SEO or from Moz.com. And I use Dixie.edu, and you can see they have a domain authority of 56 out of 100. Not great, but not bad by any means. They have 8,500 different domain names pointing back to them. And then it's also looking at the keywords that are being used in those links. And again, that's very important to point back to Dixie.edu. You can see different domain names coming in, different URLs that they're pointing to, and just more data, the keywords that were being used to link, and different things like that. But it's just, again, one tool you can use of many. And if you sign up for their trial, you can actually get a lot more, data on your domain name there. So again, if I could really break it down to you, it's just about contacting or setting up relationships or creating ultra high quality content. And again, I just want to say, if you do have high quality content, articles people care about and they want to read a lot of research into your content, so people will go look at it. Google will pick up on that, and the links will come, and people will start linking back to you. And so the third thing, again, was RankBrain. And again, like I mentioned in a previous video, there's not a whole lot we can do about RankBrain. It has to do with machine learning and how Google looks at queries and analyzes those. But the main two are your keyword optimization and linking profile that you've created.